And we're back with Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi. Madam Speaker, we're headed to a government shutdown, aren't we?
Well, I hope not, because that's a very serious matter. It certainly can be avoided. There was an agreement reached when we were lifting the debt ceiling as to how we would go forward with the budget, and apparently the Republican leadership is walking away from that. I hope that's not the case, but as you see the debate going on in their caucus, that's something they're proposing. But this is a government shutdown is very serious to our economy. It costs billions of dollars to the economy. But when you think of it personally, food stamps, all those kinds of things, not there for the children. We've talked about what it meant to not have the child tax credit, which enabled people to put food on the table they never really had before. And now we're talking about diminishing even something as simple and fundamental as feeding the children. But it's about many other things as well. So it has to be, we have to try to avoid it. And if they're saying, well, you either have an impeachment or you have a shutdown, you understand that that's not how to govern.
Not how to govern, which is, I mean, to that point, has Speaker McCarthy lost control of his caucus and lost control of the House?
Well, we'll see. Again, I don't like to make judgments about other people, but the fact is that when he was elected Speaker, I call it the ever-diminishing, the ever-shrinking speakership, because he kept giving up his own power and options. And you have to be able to bring people together. There are many diverse views, even within our own party, our party, their party. You have to be able to bring people together. You cannot defang the office. So, again, let's hope that as we bring this to the public's attention, what does it mean to have a shutdown of government? What does that mean to you? A. B, what is the frivolity of how they're treating impeachment? You know, when I first became Speaker in 2007, January, I was so deluged with requests to impeach President Bush for the war in Iraq. I strenuously opposed the war in Iraq. I said at the time, as the top Democrat on intelligence, the intelligence does not support the threat. It was a misrepresentation to the American people. But it was a policy matter, and I was not going to impeach the president, even though there was, and as Senator Graham, who was the top Democrat in the Senate and actually the chairman of the committee.
Phil Graham.
Bob Graham.
Bob Graham.
Bob Graham of Texas. Yeah, he called for the president's impeachment, but I wasn't going to do that because I just think that it was, you know, a terrible. This war in Iraq was the worst mistake our country ever made, and the consequences continue. But nonetheless, just because people were calling for it didn't mean I was going to do it. So when it came time for the former occupant of the White House, I don't use his name, it was unavoidable because the facts were so overwhelming that he committed acts of high treason and misdemeanors.
One of the threats hanging over Speaker McCarthy's head is a motion to vacate that Congressman Gates threatened earlier in the week, and Speaker McCarthy said, quote, file the effing motion. If that were to happen, Madam Speaker, should Democrats help save Speaker McCarthy?
Well, it's not about saving Speaker McCarthy.
With their votes, I mean.
It's not about saving Speaker McCarthy. He's got to save himself within his own caucus. We have a responsibility for the integrity of the House. And those, our leader, Hakeem Jeffries, we'll follow his lead. He will make the decision as weighing the equities in all of this and how we go. But it behooves the Speaker to have the votes in his own caucus to be Speaker.
I know that one of your proudest achievements is having the Affordable Care Act pass without a single Republican vote, which you've said to me in many interviews. Madam Speaker, there's been a lot of second guessing about the Biden-Harris ticket, even though they have an impressive record that they can run on and that they can stand on. Why do you think that is?
I don't know, but whatever it was, we're on our path now. This is Biden-Harris, a record of accomplishment up there with Franklin Roosevelt and Lyndon Johnson, just of 2 years of consequence. 13 million jobs, unemployment cut in half, inflation coming down. We have to do better. We have to lower costs, and that's part of our unfinished business. But they have a great record of achievement. They have great camaraderie. Nobody knows the vice presidency better than Joe Biden. And certainly in recent history, he knows it very well. He knows that country. He knows the job. He knows Kamala Harris, the vice president. Mm-hmm. This is our ticket. We're proud of it. We're going from here. And it's imminent. It's no use talking about it. You know, people talk about it, but when you're in the community or you're in the party and the rest, people are for them. Mm-hmm. They may think maybe somebody younger, whatever that discussion is. But this is the president, has a vision for our country, knows the subject matter, is strategic in his legislating and the rest, and has empathy for the American people, and so does the vice president.
Well, speaking of the vice president, what do you make of the ferocious attacks that she's taken since she was inaugurated?
Well, I think that it's an attempt to try to inject some disarray into how we go forward. But she's a woman of color. I can say as a woman, you're a target no matter what. I mean, that's grist for the mill. And good for her for having the courage to go forward with that. But it's irrelevant right now. This is the ticket. We're going forward, and that's the way it is. Now, I do say, and because I had the great respect for her. I've praised her knowledge, her values, her astuteness, her political astuteness. And then people say, well, that wasn't wholesome enough. Well, no, I mean, if you're there to criticize her, then don't criticize, accept the fact that there are people who are very devoted to her, who support her, and first among them is the President of the United States, who knows the job better than any of us, who knows Kamala Harris quite well and respects her and the job. She's our candidate, upward and onward.
Final question for you, Madam Speaker. For those folks, particularly Democrats who are disaffected and think that, you know, sure, there are these accomplishments over here, but there are a whole bunch of other things that I voted for them to do and they haven't done: criminal justice reform, police reform, voting reform. Yeah. Why is it vital for those folks to come out and vote?
Well, our democracy is at stake, and so is everything they name. Now, let me say about their concern, just because we've accomplished so much, and Congress takes credit for a lot of those accomplishments working with the president and the vice president, but nobody deserves to be elected. You just show that you can get the job done. And that's our calling card, what we have done. But it doesn't say we deserve to be. The elections are about the future. What is it that we bring to the future? Now, many of the things that you named, we passed in the House. The 60-vote requirement in the Senate is the obstacle to so much of that. That's why when we win the House, we have to take it back. Of course, elect the Biden-Harris ticket. We have to pick up a few more seats in the Senate so we can strip away the filibuster, because it will impede our being able. We could have passed immigration reform. Could have passed a woman's right to Roe v. Wade. We could have passed George Floyd legislation. We could have passed so many things if we just could have a 51 vote instead of a 60 vote. So again, we have to do better. There's unfinished business. They're so right, but again, it's hard to promise that it will happen unless we can do something about the United States Senate. We have great leadership there. Chuck Schumer's fabulous, and he knows, he shares their values, he helps create some of the initiatives, but we have to change the 60-vote requirement.
House Speaker Emerita, Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi of the great state of California, yes. Thank you, as always, for coming to the Sunday Show.
My pleasure. Thank you.